All right, hey everybody, this is Kenn Renner, real estate broker here in beautiful Austin, Texas on a beautiful fall day. I just wanted to thank you for taking some time to learn about some alternative ways that we can increase our return on our investments, both in our real estate business, but also in our career path, where we're able to be able to look at every transaction, be able to be able to make money off of every transaction for the services that we provide. I'm going to be going into a lot of detail. We're going to cover 33 different streams of income, but we're also going to talk about investing and becoming that investor specialist, that or another arrow in your quiver, so to speak, where you or another tool belt, like Jimmy Mackin said out at the summit, another tool in your tool belt. And so we're going to be talking about that. I thank Benton Dinsmore for getting this up and running for me. He works for the Tom Ferry organization behind the scenes. And so once again, I really appreciate it. This is actually a third part of a three-part series so far. And that has to do with the first one was becoming an investor savvy agent, how to create financial freedom for yourself and for your clients. And so that's kind of this third part. You can see the other first and second one that we did back in October of last year and February of this year. And there's some great resources there because I go into a lot of different details. This one really going to cover about how to create multiple streams and also give you some encouragement. This is a encouragement. I want to also inspire you a little bit, but also challenge you because these are tougher times. We all know it. Stats are just they're not looking good for the real estate industry as far as real estate agents. You know that you've heard it from stage. 50% of the realtors sold zero houses last year. It's really sad. And then 70% sold one or none. So this is a time also where you can take market share. So I'm not going to waste too much time on going over that. We're going to dive right into it. And I've got a lot of information to cover, and I think if you get one good nugget out of this, then it's all worth your while. It should be about 40 minutes with a little bit of Q&A at the end. You can leave your messages in the chat box, and I will address them once we get done with the presentation. So here we go. Let's dive in. Okay, so the presentation here is how to create multiple streams of income working with real estate investors. But this also will apply not just to real estate investors, it will really apply to many, if not all of your transactions. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that you're aware of, that this is not just for investors. Now, I specialize in investors, and it's been very well for me in the last 5 years. Since 2020, I've sold over 500 houses, over 125 million, mostly to investors and mostly to out-of-state investors. And because of pandemic, it was mostly done remotely. So, but there's been some really learning lessons when you get that many sales going. We're a small company. I have myself and a couple assistants and a showing agent. And to be able to do that volume, you really have to be focused and really being able to serve your clientele. The website that I have for this Linktree website is theinvestorsavvyagent.com, and that's going to have all the resources, including this slide deck here, as well as the video replay once I get it from the Ferry organization. So once again, I appreciate Tom Ferry and his staff to let me do this and present it. And apparently, I guess they told me that the last one we did back in February was one of the top 10 webinars that they've done. It was over 118 people on that webinar. So I appreciate once again for you guys taking your time. So let's add some value to you and your clients and dive right in. Okay, so this is kind of my I'm going to go through this a lot really quickly because you don't need me to read this to you, but I think it's fun to know what my motto in my company is having fun making dreams come true through real estate, and that's kind of the thing. We used to be saying love to make people's dreams come true through real estate. But then we added, because my wife likes to have fun, we added having fun making dreams come true through real estate. Obviously, these tougher times is not as fun, but it is very satisfying when you can help people solve their problems in a totally different way, where we're in a buyer's market much more than a seller's market. So we're basically started creating a network of investor specialists who collaborate, refer, educate each other, support each other, all with the purpose of helping our clients becoming financially free, as well as ourselves. Helping you guys create additional sources of income. And that's what we're going to be talking about specifically today. And then I'm mentoring agents to how to have meaningful conversations, especially when it comes to investors, but also in any level is how that's what Tom says is let's get on the phone, get on the Zoom, and have meaningful conversations. Also give an opportunity to do a podcast with me. I do kind of an interview podcast, and we'll show you that a little bit later. And then investor referral opportunities. We're receiving and giving referrals all across the United States, and we'll get into that in a little bit too. And then just a little sidebar, how I got involved in the Tom Ferry organization is that my sister is a real estate broker in Newport Beach, which is where Tom lives. And so, but his mom also lives in Newport Beach, and she was selling what she called a piece of garbage duplex in Costa Mesa. It was falling apart and everything built in the 60s. And so she did a 1031 tax. Well, my sister said, you got to talk to my brother in Texas. And so she goes, a 1031 tax deferred exchange, and bought 5 homes from me. And after I got done working with her, she goes, you need to talk to my son, Tom. And I said, Tom, yeah, I knew his dad, but I didn't really know, Tom. And she goes, oh, you need to talk with him. He's going to love your video and all this other stuff that you do. And so I got on a call with Tom, and for the last 3 years, I've been in the Ferry organization and enjoying it. But that's kind of a little fun sidebar. And so as far as me, just quickly, 42 years now in the business, 30 years here in Austin, half a billion. Oh, yeah, it says $500 million, $500 million in closed sales, top investment broker in Central Texas. I've done HGTV shows, and I've closed, like I said, over 500 homes since 2020. Okay, so from the summit stage, Tom said, and this really struck me, if I had one regret, it would be to wish I lived more simply and bought more real estate. And then his other goal is to create 10,000 financially free agents. And I definitely want to be in that category. I'm not financially free, but I'm certainly headed that way. So not only is it fun to become financially free through your own efforts, but also being of service to others and helping our clients become financially free. And then becoming an investor specialist, because specialists make more money. There's only a 3 or 4% of the agents that actually specialize in investors, but 30% of the market is investor sales. Did I say that right? 3% agents work investors. 30% of the closings in America right now, plus minus, are investors. So it might be another pond for you to fish in, and I can help you do that. So, and the thing is too, we don't want to work till we die. We've seen it. We've seen back in the, people just work until they're no longer able to work. You need to have an exit strategy. And that's when my coach, David Grant, started talking about, and my financial advisor, is passive income. What's your number? So what's your number where you don't have to work anymore, where work is optional? Because I don't think I'll ever stop working, but I'll definitely choose different things to work on when I don't have to, when the work is optional. So get that number in your mind. Mine happened to be $20,000 a month without having to work. I think I've raised that to 25, but that's a personal number for you. Okay, so we want to talk about goals. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why would we invest in property? Why would we help people invest in property? Why? Financial freedom, legacy, philanthropy, and lifestyle. So first we got to know how do I do it? What do I buy? Where do I buy? When? How many? Who? So we're talking about, I have clients diversify their properties. Like for instance, California, where one client sold a little 1,100 square foot house for 1.4 and bought 9 properties from me here in Texas. And so, to help people diversify their wealth. And so also we've seen a lot of people with stock windfalls and things like that, and they want to start investing in hard assets along with their stock windfalls. And then of course you got inheritance. It's one of those things about having seller conversations is when there's a life change event. We had some parents passed away. They've got this property. They don't really want to manage it in San Jose anymore. So they're going to 1031 it. And it gives when these life changes, it's great to have these conversations. So another thing is that most real estate agents focus on, if the client says, I want to sell the property, then they're going to say, I'll list it and get it sold for you. But they don't have the extra conversation, especially in this market, at least in Austin, Texas, for sure. The market is really, really slow for sales. So if they need to move, have you had conversations about telling them that you should probably think about, what about renting that house? You've got a low interest rate on it, 2.75. It'll break even or positive cash flow. Why would you sell it in this down market? Why don't you just hold on to it? When the market comes back, you have the two out of the last 5 year rule and all that kind of stuff where you can, or 3 out of the last 5 year rule where you can still not have to worry about your 500,000 capital gains, married, and all that fun stuff. So it's about having those meaningful conversations. And so this is another thing I've learned in one of the books that that Jimmy Mackin is actually a co-author, is that this may not be for you, but have you thought about? That's a great line to open up a conversation. So be the knowledge broker, and I'm going to help you do that when it comes to investors if you so choose. This is this is kind of an inspirational thing. I came up with when I was at the elite retreat out at the Gaylord in Orlando, and it says we're not just in sales, we're destiny changers. That's huge. We get the opportunity, just even selling a single family home to somebody, we are changing their lives. We're getting them from one place to the other. And so, we think of ourselves because people think we're in sales, but we're actually in the business to help people change their destinies, and that's a much higher calling. And so, a destiny changer is a game changer. And so, right now, we're in a new market. You're going to need new strategies, and you also really need to study the market cycles and how those work and where the money is to be made during the different cycles of the market. Right now, though regular sales are down, especially in Austin, this is when investors come out and they start bottom fishing and they're getting great deals. That's what happened back after the Great Recession. All these big firms came in, these hedge funds came in, and what they do, bought when no one was buying. Everybody was, the sky was falling. These hedge funds, Blackstone and all these, are just coming in, scooping up all the properties, and they've done quite well. So other arrows, other tools. You got to tap into another vertical and seek ways to increase your business. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. How do we increase our business? There's a couple different ways. You can expand your market area. So, for instance, if you're working as an agent in the Bay Area, you may need to expand if you're in Danville, you may need to expand to do San Jose and maybe even Cupertino. You can expand your geographic, or even go out to Tracy, wherever it is that you can serve a higher geographic. And also, geographic can also mean interstate, and that's what I deal with. Most of my clients are Californians or New Yorkers, people from Chicago, high equity areas that are looking to transfer, move their equity here, or actually relocate. And so expand your geographic area. You can do that by finding areas where it makes the most sense, especially when it comes to investments. You can expand your customer and your client target demographic. So actually what got me started in the investor world in a large scale was that I was helping first-time home buyers back in the 90s be able to get properties because no one wanted to help a first-time home buyer out, still kind of to this day. Then I found out after looking at the numbers, I said, what would this house rent for? And my wife and I said, well, why aren't we buying them as an investment? Literally, we bought 2 the next day and built quite a big portfolio of properties ever since, because the little first-time homebuyer homes were the same product. All I did was start telling others about it that had a higher demographic, a higher income demographic, and that's another way to expand your business, increase your business, expand your geography, expand your target market, and your client base. Expand your real estate services, and we're going to go into specifics like that. What other things can you provide that you can additionally? You see this all the time, and upselling and things like that. And it's because Amazon, you buy something from Amazon. If you like that, you might like this. So we're going to get into that in a second. So generate more from every transaction. So this is a thing for you to contemplate. Where are the ponds? The ponds are where the fish are. Where are the fish? So oftentimes ponds will dry up, and you got to go find another pond. And so I'm offering that too. Like in Texas right now, we're at a slump. And I know in California, you're still doing pretty well. And so it's kind of like one of these. It's counter cycles. So the best place to fish right now would be people that need to sell, motivated sellers, desperate sellers. And that's what we're seeing right now. And so that's what we're looking at, is to if we have to move from one pond to the other, where is that pond? And Austin, Texas is now one of those as well. And then find a need and find a niche and fill it. Riches are in the niches. And I've done that. I've been on the fringes of the demographics and geographics. Sure, I sell regular homes to regular move-up home buyers, but I've specialized back in the day on first-timers, and then specialized in investors. Same product, just different clientele. All right. What I love about working with investors, as we know, 30% of the market are investors, but they're usually of higher income, oftentimes accredited, which means they've got a lot more ability to make decisions without having to they already have their wise counsels. What the accredited investor, a certain amount of net worth. They're not geo bound because they're investors. They're not going to live there. They're going to buy where the deals are good. They're not as emotional, and that's a breath of fresh air. They're not. Their heart isn't tied to living in the home. It's a whole different dynamic. They're looking at the numbers, the product. Does it make sense? It's much more less emotional and much more dollar driven, return driven. So and they thrive during downturns. That's something that you should be highlighting right there. You start working with investors and saying, hey, the time to buy is not when everybody's selling, and time to buy is time to buy is not when everybody's buying, like this pandemic. Time to buy is when everybody's trying to sell. So that's when you get your good deals. As that funny commercial like back in the day says, give me some advice. Buy low, sell high, right? So pretty easy. Buy often and in multiples. My clients buy in multiples, sometimes one or two a year, sometimes buy 4 or 5 at once, like Miss Ferry, or they will just buy over time. But it's neat. They don't have to wait for a lifetime situation. They don't have to wait for it's time for a job relocation to sell their house. When the time is right, deal's right, and they've got their money ready to invest, tired of letting it sit in the bank, then that's a great opportunity. And you educate them in saying the time to buy is when no one else is buying. They refer their friends and family, especially where I work with a lot of my clients out in the Silicon Valley, very well networked. And it's really amazing, after building the trust over years and years, now I get a nice steady stream of referrals from friends and family. What they're looking for is an agent that cares, not about themselves, it's about them, and it can help, and one they can trust. Because one of the things about the referral network, especially in the Bay Area, Southern California, where the high tech is where in medical, if they trust somebody, they'll tell their relative, and the relative will trust you as well. So trust is transferable, and that's pretty exciting. Okay, so who is my investor client? And that's, avatar, call it, is perfect client. Passion. Where do they live? What's their passions? Where do they live? Where do they play? Where do they work? What's their demographic, their geographic, their psychographic, right? These are things that you need to be thinking about. What is their need, wants, and fears? Is it diversification? Is it tax shelter? Is it wealth building and financial freedom? Is it lifestyle, legacy, and giving the money away? Philanthropy, making a difference. And what are their fears? Most of the 3 top fears for investors are a vacancy, not knowing who to trust in a transaction, and buying a property that's in a bad area or a dog area that's not going to be a good return. So you want to be open to outside the box thinking opportunities, and that's what I help my clients to as well. So where do we find them? And by the way, I did do the first 2 podcasts. The first one that I did back in October was why do we want to become investor specialists? The second one in February was how to, and that's actually where I have the SOPs, the actual emails that I would send out to attract my investor clients. And you're welcome to get on my website, theinvestorsavvyagent.com, and look at those. Go into detail exactly how we did it. So database, obviously, our emails are one of our biggest sources. Presentations, podcasts, webinars, just like this. Great way to do it. Everybody's on Zoom now. I've been on video since 2000 and forever. But when YouTube came out, I was the first one on YouTube, or one of them. And so now my YouTube channel has 11 million views. So it's all about building. It's a compound effect. Meetups and investor clubs. So in fact, in a couple of days, on Thursday of this week, I'm flying out to San Jose to meet and greet my clients from, I've sold over 500 homes, so I've got quite a few clients back there, but also going to be doing a presentation at the Santa Clara Hyatt House so people can bring their friends and relatives, small, intimate gathering, 30, 35 people, and also do small groups. But there's also other meetups and other investor clubs out there that I've tapped into in the past, and I want to tap into them again. because I've been doing my own thing and been super busy with just selling lots of properties. But now that things have slowed down, we're going to go back out and really get networked. Investor forums like Bigger Pockets, there's a lot of conversations going there. Facebook groups, ads, YouTube, Instagram, other agents, obviously, a great way to find investor clients. And that's one of the things I look for. Networking events, obviously, I put my own on, and I also go to others. Real estate conferences, conventions, always, when you go to the Ferry, always meeting somebody there that's going to help us or help where we can help other people get where they need to go. Instagram, YouTube, where we talked about financial advisors, estate attorneys, self-directed IRAs. These advisors are always trying to give us suggestions of being able to help their clients, diversify and expand their portfolios. Believe it, direct mail is a high probability of sellers. So what I do is I go into Remind, I dig up all the tax records of all the non-owner occupied people in a particular area, and I send them a postcard. And we got a great response last time. I just did a month ago, 2 weeks ago, and people that was driven to a webinar, did a short webinar presentation about investing, and also if they wanted to sell their properties. So it was great. So webinars are awesome. And then, sorry about that. That was from the old presentation, March 13th. We'll skip over that right now. Okay, so how is this practical? How can we help? Like this is Mr. Bill. I use him in a lot of my presentations. He sold this house in San Mateo on Guilford Street, sold it for $1.45 million. And he'd already worked with me in the past on some real estate investment. He said, Ken, I'm selling this house. What do I do? Let's do a 1031 tax deferred exchange. I can get you 9 houses for the same equity, same price. So that's exactly what we did. We went from that one little house there, $3,600 a month, to these 9 houses, which were generating $13,500 a month. And at this point, they're actually generating $17,000. I just had a conversation with him and his son, Mr. Bill Jr. He's one of the guys on my podcast videos you can watch, and he's in Burlingame. So I'm networking with people in those areas to obviously help them if they've got clients that want to do what we're doing here. That's what we're looking for. Just a little, I always like to throw this out for the people that are living in the Bay Area. This is the difference between Bay Area and Central Texas, what you can get. But I'll skip over that so that you don't cry too much. This is the classic story. This is why I do this. This was a heartwarming thing. This lady came to me in the late 90s, referred by my father-in-law, who's a real estate investor, and kind of was my real mentor in getting to where I'm at in my real estate career. And this is Andrea Sullivan, and she sold a fourplex, getting a divorce in Huntington Beach in the late 90s, sold a fourplex. It was falling apart. The tenants were, thrashing the place. Sold it, and she said, what do I do, Ken? And so I said, well, come to Texas. I sold her 10 single-family homes from that one beat-up fourplex, and I also sold her primary residence, too. So I sold her 11 houses. And then also my father-in-law was able to sell the house for her, so there was a commission there. So that's kind of where it is. The people in California would sell their investment property, and then what do? I don't want to pay capital gains. So we do a 1031 tax deferred exchange. Guess what? We structured this. She didn't even have a job at the time, but she had free and clear property. So we were able to structure it so the loan and the leases were able to make her be able to qualify as she closed these properties through the 1031 exchange. Fun stuff. And she wrote me a beautiful letter and said basically she retired at 53 and now she's in her 80s. So that was definitely a destiny changer for her. Okay, we're going to get some details here, but I have to do my disclaimers. Don't offer tax advice. Seek the right counsel. Make sure you comply with all the disclosure requirements in your RESPA, national, state, local laws, including your own brokerage rules. Use the affiliated business disclosures as required by law. Make sure your referral fees that you give and receive are legal and allowable. Don't ever pay an unlicensed entity or person a real estate referral fee. Except I guess the $50 you're allowed to give. And we don't endorse any of the companies that I'm mentioning in here. I do your own due diligence. I put do your diligence. But do your diligence because I'm bringing out suggestions. I'm not saying I endorse these companies. All right? Okay, here we go. So we're going to talk about income first, and then we're also going to talk about investing and also saving money because all that creates wealth too right there. First, obviously, commissions. I sold a house yesterday to an investor, here's a typical example of what I'm working with now. People have bought their homes 6 or 7 years ago. They have quite a bit of equity. They bought their investment property. Now they're selling it, doing a 1031 tax deferred exchange and buying three more with the same equity. So one into three. And that's that. So I turned one commission from selling his house into four commissions. Referral fees also, obviously, I love referral fees, both giving and receiving. And the thing about referral fees and all this stuff, you're saying, well, oh, you're always asking for, a little handout on each one of these things. No, obviously what works with referral fees and these referral income that we get is because we're taking all the marketing dollars and effort out of the sales process. When I refer somebody to somebody, they're ready to go. There was a name and a number, and I get a check someday. If there's somebody who's referring to me, I get a name and a number, and I give them a check at closing. And so I love mailbox money, and so let's do more of those giving and receiving of referral fees. Right now, we're going to be visiting a client in California. She already bought a couple properties from me. She's selling her house in San Jose, and we're already meeting with one of the Tom Ferry agents to help her with the sale of that, and then she's going to come here and buy how many more that she's going to get out of the $2 million that she's exchanging. Leasing fees. So leasing fees range, we charge 80, 90, we have a small management company, we charge 80, 90%. So oftentimes if we're selling something, we don't want to manage it, but we'll go ahead and lease it because it's the first activity is leasing and then management, is oftentimes we'll sell the house and then we'll do the leasing fee. But that way, after that, we hand the keys over in the lease and the property manager takes over. So, it's commissions, and 90% of this house over here at $3,600 a month is about $3,000. So not a bad leasing commission on top of our, looking at making more per transaction. Property management referrals. I should have discovered this a long, long time ago because it was legal. I just never asked. So that's one of the things I've learned a long time ago. If you don't ask, you don't get. And so during this last recent boom, one of the property management companies I was working with said, you know what, I'm giving you so much business. Why don't you give me a little percentage? And they're like, sure, no problem, because I took all the marketing out. I just hand them one deal after another. So they gave me a $20 per deal, or is it 20% of the management fee? Well, that's not a whole lot every month. But when you add up 500 properties and you're getting that and you referred all these properties out, I'm getting $3,600 a month just from referral fees without doing anything, just for my properties from one property manager. I'm getting $1,700 a month from another property manager. So referral income opportunities are there. And so I like that because I'm literally every month I'm creating passive income. As long as I lease those properties, I get a check. Ongoing property management. Okay, let me go back here. Property management fee referrals, I'm getting $500 per property for referring it to one of our trusted property managers. I get $20 in perpetuum if they're going to give me a monthly fee. So $20 or 20%, whatever it works out to be. So that's where you've got the long-term income, or just literally over the last summer, one property management company gave me $9,000 in referral fees, but just by me referring doors to them. Another one, did this in the past. I used to own a mortgage company, and I used to do the loan and the real estate. I know that sounds crazy, but it was actually pretty neat because you were able to control the entire transaction. Now, loan business is tough, and bottom line, I made a great living, and I doubled down because I was getting the origination fees and the real estate commission. And I just talked to a company yesterday that is actually a bank, and I don't even have to get a license because I can work as a net branch under a bank. That's a whole another conversation. When I learn about that, just reach out to me and we'll talk about that. But for the most part, if you get your license, you can get origination fees. Private money and hard money lenders. My brother-in-law owns a large private money company, and they'll offer referrals and co-ops just depending on how their arrangements work. In other words, co-op is co-op marketing. Insurance. This is something that I was like, if I'm getting money from my property managers, why not from my insurance agent? I've given them hundreds of transactions over the years. At the time, it wasn't really worth it to try to beg for $40. But then I started looking at what insurance, if I got my license, which means just a 40-hour course, and I can just broker my clients to the insurance agent, then I can earn $200 to $300 up front. And and or continue. This is one thing about hazard insurance. It renews every year and you get paid every year. And maybe it's only $200 or $300, but that times 100 properties starts adding up. So it's compound effect. Home warranties pay referral fees. In Texas, we have the opportunity to do property tax protest services. I actually get a discounted rate from the property tax protest service, and I also get a referral fee. So the client gets a better rate. I get a referral fee. I got $2,200 last year, and again this year for doing nothing but naming a number. Utility services, referrals there, and there's also MLMs, and I won't, like I said, I'm not endorsing any of these companies, but Ambit is one where you can actually help. Hey, they got to get their utilities turned on. Why not help them, refer them to somewhere, and you actually get a check. ACN, Vivint is another one. That's who is my security system, and they'll pay me $200 to $300 per client for just referring them for their security systems. There's an ADT, not my favorite, but there's other ones out there, and they will give you money. And once again, not endorsing revenue share brokerages like EXP and Real, but after studying MLM because I was going in this, Real and EXP are some of the fastest growing direct marketing companies or direct marketing models, and of course in the top 5 or 10 in the world right now. So not saying you have to switch brokerages, but just keep that in mind. They're always going after me, and I've got it in the back of my mind. Okay, so we also get checks from our contractors and trades. Repairs, rehabs, upgrades. I work out with one of my contractors. If I give you up to $25,000 repair or rehab, you're going to pay me $500. If it's over $25,000, you're going to pay me $1,000. Okay, and so that's added up. I got 30. Well, long story short, a small tornado hit one of my market areas and blew off a bunch of roofs, including lots of them, I had 7 houses in the area. And so we had to go, obviously get in the insurance companies and do all that and get everything. But then my roofer, who I referred because I did so many sales in the area where this little storm happened, I gave him over 60 properties and I got $500 per property. That's $30,000 check in January of this year. And I'm still getting checks because it takes time for these things to work out through the insurance companies. So, and solar, by the way, Tesla pays, they got their solar power, Tesla, thing, they'll pay referral fees. So why not? You've got to, you may as well, if you're going to refer it, may as well get a check out of it. Movers, referral fees. The referral fees for movers, they get huge chunks of money, and they're more than happy to offer a referral fee. Most of them, not all. Home inspectors, yeah, it might be a little conflict of interest, and want to stay out of conflict of interest, but there is that it can happen with full disclosure, and that's what we have to really make sure. If it's a part of a sales transaction, you really make sure you have full disclosure, and just like I said, those disclaimer and disclosures, please follow those. Even attorneys can can give you a referral fee for the referred attorney work. I don't ask my attorneys for that. But 1031 exchange accommodators, not all of them, but if you're in exchange, why not get a little effort for your marketing efforts and bringing in them business? My CPA will give the first year, if they switch to their CPA, that CPA firm, they'll give me 25% of the client's first year and some ongoing residual. Once again, continuing streams of income. BPOs, that's back in the day when we were doing short sales, but who knows? It could be coming back again. Staging services, if you're passionate about staging services, you can do it for yourself and for others. I'm not very good at staging, but it's something, just as I was brainstorming the 33 ways of making money outside of just the commissions, that's what I came up with. Co-op advertising. Now we're getting into saving money. And that would be just as much as, it's just like making money, but if you don't have to spend it, you're actually basically earning it. So I love to do co-op marketing with mortgage companies. Title companies, they're a little bit got the rules, but there's other warranty companies are great for co-op advertising, other businesses in our neighborhood. So there's lots of ways to get your advertising done for free, which would be a welcome break in this economy. Now let's talk about how you really make money. And that's through property acquisitions. If you're not buying property and you own, you're in a real estate industry and you know what it does, let's get involved and start making let's start investing. Because if I don't invest much in the stock market, So, and I don't the cash return on a CD isn't going to not going to make me wealthy. So I've built up quite a portfolio of my own investment properties. But I also did was really fun is I could apply my commission. 3% or whatever it is from the builder or whoever, and I apply that. So I've already got 3% of my down payment. And then sometimes I'll even tell the builder, hey, I'll buy that property, but give me a 6% commission instead of a 3% commission. I've got I've got 6% of my 20% down payment just by buying it. So I'm getting paid to buy my own properties, and I don't have to come up with the biggest down payment. Obviously, rental income. Really hope that you understand that long-term rental income and short-term rental income is really kind of the holy grail. Is the cash flow, and eventually that home will be paid off, and that's when it really gets lucrative. Appreciation, equity growth over time. Obviously, that's the whole thing, and then depreciation, your tax shelter, and we're going to kind of go into that. And this is something that one of the podcasts that I teach, probably going to be teaching a whole thing on this this strategy for real estate professionals. But once you start investing in real estate, whether you're a real estate agent or whether you're just a straight up investor, tax write-offs. You can write off, talk to your CPA. Once again, no tax advice here. Some of your travel expenses, some of your business expenses. So definitely your property related expenses. At the travel, for instance, I'm going to Cancun at the end of the month. I'm going to make sure that I sign up and visit some of the properties, visit different. I even do a dumb timeshare presentation, and that time is considered as and a portion of your business trip or your portion of your travel can be written off if you're doing real estate business while you're on vacation. So. IRS real estate professional designation. This is for us as working real estate professionals, but it's also available to those that don't have licenses, and that are well. There's some rules about how involved you have to be in it. I won't go into the whole rule thing. The good news is if you're a real estate active in the business, you definitely should be able to qualify for the unlimited losses to offset your ordinary income. In other words, the depreciation that every property throws off that the government allows will just offset other capital gains or other income, but not passive income. So that what the passive basically you can write off all the depreciation that your properties throw off your ordinary income, and that's huge. In 2020, I sold. I had over $1 million gross income. And I had my CPA said I was going to have to pay $155,000 in taxes, and I said no, I don't want to pay $155,000 in taxes. So I learned about cost segregation and bonus depreciation. I did that on 2 properties. My bill went from $155,000 to $35,000. So that's for a whole nother presentation, and it is also in my podcast. I can go over that. That's one of the best things, and I didn't even know about it until somebody spoke at my own conferences. Augusta rule, you can rent your own home. This is where you need to be more of a business owner. That's in other words, I'm an S corp, so I can rent my home out to my company. My company can rent my personal residence for up to 2 weeks, as long as it's being used for business, like company retreat, training sessions, build team building and all that, and have activities and all this. That's really you rent your own house out. That income I charge myself $20,000, and that rent on the Augusta rule is not taxable. Whole nother conversation. Check with your CPA. Oh, this is my financial advisor. Kids working in business. I've got my 15-year-old. And I pay her about $13,000 a year. She does flyers. She helps in the office work. She helps with filing and stuff like that. So you can actually shift your business, your income to your kids, and they get it. They don't have to pay the tax rate that you're paying. And so that's another way to, once again, not make money but not spend it. So you actually are gaining money. Some of the things that they talked about at the Ferry conference, depending on your level of where you're at. Should I have a S corp or a sole proprietorship? So, S corps, there's a different structure and there's tax advantages to being an S corp, and then there's also if you're not too big, then a sole proprietor might just work. But I think that there's definitely you don't pay the self-employment tax on the sole proprietor as much as you do on you don't you pay a lot more in social the Social Security tax on sole proprietor as opposed to S corp. Once again, talk with your CPA. There's ways to structure your tax position so that you're able to save more money, which is what we're looking at. Okay, there's just that disclaimer again, because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody saying you endorsed this and you did this and you didn't tell me about RESPA and all that. Enough said. And this is what I do. I'm a turnkey provider. I do the research. I do the help acquire the property. I help manage it or arrange management, and I help them sometime down the line dispose of it through sale or through a 1031 tax deferred exchange. I have a specialized network of network of help to help investors. And I'm bringing this up because this is the thing that most agents don't have if they're working investors. They need to have all these specialized CPAs, insurance, attorney, lenders, property management, builders. So, and then trades. These are all people. And if you notice that list, those are all on that list are people or entities that can potentially pay me extra money for the amount of business that I'm giving them. And they're happy to do it usually. Okay, so this is like an example of what I throw out in my opportunities. You know, you can still buy a home brand new under 200,000. We got builder closeouts, wholesale. These are the kind of things I use to entice my clients, and this works. We're buying houses 12 to 20% below the actual market value right now with builders. We're also getting 4.25% interest rate. So, you know, that's amazing. And then we're also looking at 3 to 6% commissions, and I pay out to the Ferry organization. I pay out 30% on my referral fees. So more mailbox money for you, and you can plug into my network and what I'm doing here, and so that will help you in diversification. So, in getting close to conclusion here, be the knowledge broker. Or if you're not in the business of investing, team up with an agent that does. Just like anything else, if you're not in a luxury business and you got a luxury client, team up with a luxury agent. You know, let them help you and mentor you through. Think outside the box. Insider knowledge is legal in real estate. Riches are in the niches. And this is talking about how can we have more meaningful conversations with clients. I'd be glad to get on a phone call with your client, you know, and you say, let Ken explain how you can build a portfolio of income producing properties. Then once again, 25 to 50% referral fees paid, up to 3 to 6% commissions. So diversify your market. This is what you've got the Ferry organization. This is an organization that just obviously has a lot of, in the ecosystem, a lot of networking going on. And that's what I'm trying to build within the system is to help investor specialists become better at what they do. This kind of a visual of what I've got here is that I'm in the middle here in Texas. And then you're out here maybe in California or over in New York. And I've got connections not only to these little dots around here. Those are your sphere of influence, people that you can talk to. You can plug them in, and it goes both ways. Like I said, I'm meeting in San Jose with a Ferry agent to introduce it to a client selling in San Jose, but also going the other way. You know, obviously, as you referring to me, and I pay a referral fee, but I also am well connected with other investor savvy agents across the nation, and that's what I can help you with. I've got people in Florida, Oklahoma, Nevada. They all know what we do, and that's kind of what I'm doing to build this network of agents that really want to help investors. Here's my podcast, and I invite you to join with me. This is a podcast you could use for marketing purposes, and we do a co-op presentation, and like you see up here, and I'm just interviewing you about your market, you're about my market, and then we can chop it up and do it all the syndication of what we do with our regular marketing. So it gives you another, you know, I'm endorsing you, you're endorsing me. We're talking about the different markets. For instance, Mercedes, who was at the Elite Retreat, she was speaking to about 300 investors a couple of years ago. Got with her, and we did a nice little edu-marketing with the difference between California property rules, tenant landlord rules, and Texas. And it was really cool because it was like, you know, she's from Huntington Beach, and I'm here from Austin. But guess what? If I'm going to refer somebody to Huntington Beach, who am I going to call? I'm going to call Mercedes. There's Coach, my coach. We do a lot of talking about the investment exit strategy, and that was great. On my podcast is a great interview between me and him to really open your eyes down that whole thing of I don't want to work until I die. This is Lana Kalinowski. She bought a property from me. I met her at the summit, and she came to my meetup, and it was a year ago, and she understood what I was doing. She lives in the Twin Cities, and her husband came down, saw what he saw with what I showed him. He liked it, and then Lana bought it from me, and she got about 4.25% interest rate or 5.25, whatever it was, and I got a 5% commission on that, and I gave her 30% of it. So she got a lot of her closing costs paid, and I was able to help her out. So they're going to come back and buy more. I saw them up at the summit just last month. Okay, so we're pretty much down to the wire here. Kind of some action items. Go to my website, click on InvestorSavvyAgent.com, theinvestorsavvyagent.com. You can check out the previous investor webinars. Check out the Investor Savvy podcast, and let's do one. Let's take some action. And I'm more than happy. It's basically 20 minutes, and we have a conversation, me and you. No pressure, just something you would be having a conversation like anybody else. But this is really good because you can use that information as a co-endorsing of each other. And then join Investor Savvy Facebook group. Just post a whole bunch of those interviews on there. And then connect with me, call me. Or maybe you need to invest in a place that will bring you some positive cash flow and some good price points that make more sense. Okay, so a little bit about the InvestorSavvyAgent.com. It's Investor Podcast is on there, which is B2C. Then we have the Tom Ferry Webinar Replay, why and how, and then you'll have this webinar on there as soon as I get it back, and as well as this, you will also have the slide deck up at the end of this presentation, and how to create multiple streams of income is today. And let's do some of the podcast interviews. Presentation slide decks are on here, so you've got all the information. Didn't have to take notes. It's all there for you. And then the Instagram scheduler. So here is my information, and you're welcome to contact me, call me, text me, email me, the website's byaustin.com, has some good resources on it. KennRenner.tv is my YouTube channel with 11 million views. And then my call scheduler for a meeting, just call it, to callken.com. You can put yourself on my calendar, and then the resources are on the Investor Savvy Agent. So let's connect. In the meantime, I do have some chat questions here. So let me see what we got. Once again, thank you for taking your time. I don't see the time on here, so I'm not really sure where we're all at this point as far as so let me see if I get our chat box here. Good morning, Ken. Dave in Las Vegas. Hi, Dave. That's my coach. Give you an example with Dave is that Dave's been coaching me 3 years, I think, and so just as an example of how this works is my assistant Andrea. She said, hey, my husband and I used to live in Vegas. We really like to go to Vegas, and she has property here in Texas, and she bought a couple of investment properties, and so I referred her to Dave. He sold her a beautiful house, a condo, townhome, which they visit. It's a second home, and then he earned his commission. I earned a referral fee, and then going back the other way, he sent me a referral. And ended up being a 700. Oh, I referred him for 750,000, and that was a nice, good chunk of change. And then he's referred me business, so it goes both ways. And this is where it's all balances. So that was worth the cost of admission for sure. Can you send me a recorded, Valentina? Thank you. A recorded version of this? Yes. If you put your email in there at Valentina recording. Okay, yeah, there you go. Team put it. The recording will be in the Revy calendar. That's awesome. I'm in San Jose. When am I coming? Valentina, I'll be there this Friday through Monday. Flying in late Thursday night, leaving late Monday, so I'm available. And I also have a presentation at the Santa Clara Hyatt House at 10:30 a.m. So you're welcome to come. Bring your other agents. Anybody that wants to learn more about the opportunities here in Texas and beyond. Lisa, thank you. And then Dave, appreciate it. Give you a shout out for the best coach on the West Coast. So just not the West Coast, I guess. Las Vegas, baby. All right. So anyways, that's where we're at. If there's any more questions, let me know. I'll be glad to answer those. We are recording this session, and the session will be back on it. going to go ahead and close out my screen here to once again thank you for your time. We got under less than an hour here, so that's great. Once again, here's my contact information. Let me know if I can help you out. If you just want to chat, talk, but if you want to really help each other create some business, I'm here for you. It's Kenn Renner, real estate broker here in Austin, Texas. Give me a call. Let's connect. Let's see out there in the Bay Area or wherever you might be. Once again, I'm willing. If you can put 5 or 6 qualified investors in a room, in a conference room, that know, like, and trust you, I wouldn't have any problem with flying out just for that meeting. So that's another thing, because I really realize that right now, belly to belly communication is the way it's the way business was done. Zoom is great, but it wasn't the way business. It's harder to get a connection and really build relationship on a Zoom call. So let's connect and and I'll see you at a summit and or let's once again appreciate your time, and I look forward to helping everybody out here that wants to get involved in more investing and earning more income from each property. All right, thank you. Talk to you soon. I think we're done, Benton.